Okay, finally we are doing the word problem. Okay, this is question 29 from your homework. We have a triangle. They give you the length of this side, which is the height, and also the length of this side, which is the base. And they ask you for the area. The area is equal to 1/2 base times height. So we're going to substitute those two expressions into our formula. So for the base, I'm going to use this, which is 2 radical 3 plus radical 5. For the height, we're going to use this expression. So parentheses 4 radical 3 plus radical 5. Okay, and I showed you yesterday how to multiply two polynomials. So here's a polynomial with two terms. Here's another polynomial with two terms. Okay, you do what's called the FOIL. The first, outside, inside, and last. So these two are the first. These two are the last, the outside. These two are the inside, and then these are the last. Okay. If you want to see how it's done in more detail, you can use your book. It's actually covered a little later in your book. So this is where it's covered. Okay, it is on page 507. Okay, so if you want to learn more about how to multiply two binomials together, this will give you more information, and it's also here. So this is from chapter 8. Okay, so we'll be at the next chapter, but I don't know why they're making you do this now, but I'll show. It's not very difficult, so I can show it to you first. Okay, so now you're going to multiply these two together. So that's 8, and then this will give you 3. So 8 times 3 is 24. Okay, so that's the first one. And then you take this, multiply by this, and then you get 2 radical 15. And then the inside, and then these two. This times this gives you 4 radical 15. Okay, finally this term times this term, and that'll give you 5. Wow, isn't this nice? You have two terms that are like radicands. So we're going to simplify this further. The 24 and the 5 we can combine first. And then we're going to combine this term with this term, which is 6 radical 15. And then we're going to distribute the 1/2 to all of that. So this is 29 divided by 2, which gives you 14.5. And then this divided by 2 will give you 3 radical 15. And that's your answer. Okay, I hope. Okay, you can go back and check your answers, but let me just make sure I did that right. That was question 29. Question 29, the answer is 14.5 plus 3 radical 15 units squared. Very good. All right, that's what we got. Okay, so your answer should have units squared. Okay, whatever units you have, you always square that, and this is your answer. Okay, next question, 61. Okay, for question 61, it's a rectangle. They're asking for the perimeter and the area. So let's do the perimeter first. The perimeter is 2 times L plus W. Okay, so here's your L, here's your W. So you're going to add them together and then multiply by 2. Okay, so 2 times, just going to write 3 radical 7 plus 3 radical 5 plus 2 radical 7 plus 2 radical 5. So we can combine like terms, okay, with like radicands. This will give you 5 radical 7 plus these two will give you 5 radical 5. And 2 distributed to that is just 10 radical 7 plus 10 radical 5. Okay, that's your answer. Okay, next, the area. We're going to multiply these two now. Okay, so 3 radical 7 plus 3 radical 5, parentheses, multiplied by 2 radical 7 plus 2 radical 5. And we will have, 6 times 7. Okay, 3 times 2 is 6, and then this radical times this radical is going to give you 7. So 6 times 7 is 42, plus, and then this one multiplied by this is 6 radical 35. This times this is going to give you 6 radical 35 again. And then finally this times this is going to give you 6 times 5, which is 30. Okay, so that will give us this plus this is 72 plus, and then these two combined, 12 radical 35. Now radical 35 cannot be simplified further because it's 7 times 5, okay? And there's no perfect square in there. So that's it. Okay, finally, number 63. I think a lot of you will have problem with this one. So the first one, they tell you that the mass is 3 kilograms. They want you to simplify this, okay, formula if the mass was 3. Okay, so this is a formula that relates velocity to the kinetic energy to the mass of the object. Okay, you don't really need to understand what those things mean, just know how to deal with the formula. Okay, so you have three variables. Okay, we know one of them. Okay, for part A. Part A tells you that the m is 3. So you're just going to rewrite this with 3. Now this 3 is in the denominator, and this radical covers the whole thing. So it really is saying that this is 2k over radical 3. Okay, that v is this. We cannot have a radical in the denominator, so we're going to rationalize this. Okay, and then you're going to multiply this side by the same thing. Okay, whatever you do on this side, you do on this side. Okay, after you do that, oh, I'm sorry, you don't need to do this. Okay, you're just rationalizing. So you're just multiplying by this, and you're just rationalizing this term. Okay, so the v is equal to radical 6k over 3. Okay, so now you have a new way of expressing, okay, this relationship, okay, this original formula. Okay, so rather than having this, you now have this. And then in part B of the question, they tell you if the velocity is 7, what will be the k? So we're going to substitute 7 here and solve for k. So I have 7 equals, and let's look at this, radical 6k over 3. Okay. To solve for k, we have to get it by itself, so I got to get rid of what else is there. So I can get rid of this first by multiplying both sides by 3. Okay, that will effectively remove this 3 from this side and then put it here. So we have 21 is equal to radical 6k, which is the same as radical 6 times radical k, right? So I can now divide this by radical 6 on both sides. That will remove this. So I have 21 radical 6. Okay, now I have a radical here on the bottom, but don't worry about it just yet because it will take care of itself later. So I have now radical k on this side. I'm almost there, okay? I'm almost done with solving for k. This is radical k, it's not k yet. So how do I get rid of this radical? Well, you can square that, because by squaring the radical, you remove them. This cancels this out, so now you're left with k. So if I square this on the right hand side, I have to square this on the left hand side as well. So I end up with k is equal to 21 times 21, which is 441 over. And then this is really nice because the bottom part of this is radical 6, but if I square that, I just have 6. And if you use your calculator, you will find that this is equal to 70 something 0.5. I think it was 73.5. Okay, and then in the question they say, in the question it says, this is 73, no, I'm sorry, wrong question, 63. Okay, so they ask you, what is the kinetic energy of the ball in joules? Okay, joules. Joules is the unit, so your answer has to be in joules. Okay, joules is how we measure kinetic energy. So that's our answer. Hope that helps.